A very warm welcome to another episode of The Unscripted with NK for Nancy Kea. And I'll ask you, do you believe in the existence of angels in form of human beings? Yes, I'm here. I believe in it. I saw one. Now, life in this strange land became so unbearable for us as a family. One, my father all of a sudden fell ill, and so he could not support us. Our sole breadwinner became our mother. And what was she doing? She was working in the tea leaves, picking the tea leaves. Now, if you come from the highlands, you know how hard it is to pick the tea leaves. You don't pick everything. There are specific leaves you pick, and also you have to be quick for you to make much money. So this being a learner, she had never seen the tea bushes, and it was the first time she's seeing them, the first time she's picking them. So you can imagine how slow she was and the struggles. So really, she could not shoulder all our family problems, and therefore life for us became so difficult as children, I would say, because we could not afford any decent meal. For that matter, we would only afford one meal, and that was supper. And that one meal, again, it was by sheer luck. All we would pray as children, we are lawyers, and lawyers we believe in ugali. So we would always pray for unga, flour. So wherever there was flour, we would feel comfortable. Because one good thing about this region, again, it's the forests there are full of wild vegetable. The sudzas you buy on the market, people pick them for free. The nderema, I don't know whether you know the nderema. Sudha, some call it manabu. So yeah, as long as there was unka, we'd make sure that every weekend we walk into the forest and pick enough of nderema and managu. So we would be doing these. Now, uh, I told you that school was far. So walking to school on an empty stomach, because really there is no breakfast. And if we were to do porridge, since there is flour, really tutakuwa tunaharibu budget. So we would walk to school hungry, and better for my siblings who would go back home, maybe they would find something to bite. I'm saying maybe, but for me I had to stay back at school until evening. Remember I told you that in this school, class threes could stay longer, and not all the class threes. This particular class three I was in. So imagine a class three going without lunch. How would you concentrate in the afternoon lessons? But then God sent an angel in form of Mr. Kimeto. If you do not know Mr. Kimeto, please be sure to watch my previous episode, my previous video. I've mentioned him there. So Mr. Kimeto realized that I was not having lunch. Something for this class, there were many that were coming from far and could not go back for lunch. They would pack lunch to school. And because for me, I didn't have anything to pack, it meant that I would stay there. I would stay on the compound as the rest are having their lunch. But I would always excuse myself. I would go to some corner, let them finish their lunch, then I would join them later. So Mr. Kimeto noticed that. And one day he called me and offered his entire lunchbox to me. Yes, eating Mwalimu's food. You can imagine, eh? And that day, I must admit, I had a decent meal. And so it did stop there. He made it his habit, and to the point of changing the lunchbox, as it were. So he went for a bigger lunchbox, maybe to cater for us too, and guilt began eating me. So what I did, I decided to run away from Mr. Kimeto. So instead of staying in the compound, because he always had a way of finding me out, I tried changing positions on the compound, but he would always find me. So what I decided to do is walk out of school with the rest that are going for lunch, stay somewhere on the road until when I was sure that he is done eating his lunch, that's when I would walk back to school. So one day he calls me and asks me, I've noticed that nowadays you are not in school uh, lunchtime. Where do you go? And I told him, I go home for lunch, which was a lie. And he was like, okay, where do you come from again? Have you relocated? And I was like, yeah, we came closer here. And, so I mentioned a place that was a bit closer to school. And he was like, okay, wow. So that is how I ran away from Mr. Kimeto. But I must say, that was a very beautiful soul. Somebody sacrificing, and more so a teacher. Teachers of our time were terror. You wouldn't even stare at them. Forget about tasting their food. Them calling you to share their meal. So that was it with my encounter with Mr. Kimeto, my good teacher, that I'm always grateful to date. I don't know whether this Musa is still there because then he was almost retiring. So if you're on this platform and you know Mr. Philemon Kimeto Sukutek Primary, please reach out to me. I would wish to meet that Musa and buy him maybe a cup of tea. So let's be on the lookout for me. In our next episode, I'll be telling you how I became a parent at the age of 12. You had it right.